change the name of the thread, the live feed, from test to.
Oh, yeah.
He does that all the
Hey
time.
there, John. Yeah. Let's scoot
He
over.
does it after
Let's
Dave's.
scoot over a little bit.
If you see your name.
Good to see you.
Good to see y'all.
Hi.
Well,
The all-star team is here today.
We're ready. We're actually, I think we're live. Yes, indeed. Hey, somebody's already logged in there. Hey, Joshua. All right.
Bluetooth
Got the
connecting.
batteries and everything.
very, very cool.
So efficient.
So did I not change test on the last video is what you're saying?
It's on this one here, it's test one.
Well, every live stream is test one, but then I have to go in afterwards and rename them, and yes, so I may have missed the last one, but
I'm just suggesting that we change it from test one to something else.
Yeah, it always is.
I think you're
I'm
talking,
about
so
while it's running, while we're.
you're just saying call it something else instead of test one.
Yeah.
All right, that's good feedback from whomever. So it's, here we are at Northern Neck, January 6th Vigil. It is day 1325 from January 6th. It is August 23rd, 2024, and we'll start with a brief prayer, a pledge of allegiance, and get started tonight. Heavenly Father, as always, I think I'm repeating myself and you know it, but please watch over the children and the families of everyone involved in January 6th and give them the courage and strength to get through this ordeal. And I know you are, because I see it and I hear it from these wonderful people who, through all of this unbelievable trauma and ordeals they've been through, especially the ones that have a firm or growing belief in you and your guidance, I can see it and we hear it. And these are some strong individuals, and thank you very much for all you do for them. And in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you.
Trump, Trump, Trump.
Trump, Trump. Hey, this is my new old hat. It's a 2020 Trump hat. I think I told you guys that I found in a store up there. I think it's called the Border Store, which is on your way up 301 before you get to the bridge. And they've got all kinds of hats, flags, you know, dinosaurs, all kinds of things in that place. But on one rack, they had piles and piles of 2020 Trump hats, and I think they were $2.50 a piece, $5 or something. It was cheap. So I don't care that it says 2020, it says Trump, and if we're not after and supporting Trump right now, every single day from here until election season starts and finishes, then I think you need to figure out what your priorities are, because we need to get after that and make this country great again.
Being polite.
Glorious again.
Yes.
So whoever gave the feedback on renaming our thing, we'll figure out how to do that. And then also, I want to follow on Stop Hates. I think they're the ones that came up with the term. January 6ers are not political prisoners, they're political hostages. I'm going to change our banner for next time, and I'm going to strike this out or put over it, you know, a new piece that just says hostages. Because, you know, call it what it is, right? You know, this is, again, they are collecting new hostages. Howdy, good to see you tonight. And I think I was going to do I think I will do that maybe while you're doing something, Cheryl, or someone else is speaking, but
I have nothing.
you have nothing? All right, well, we'll get through it, but the NPR database was updated today at 4:30 instead of 5:30, so they skipped last week. But let's just take it real quick. Looks like 11 or 12 have been arrested in the last 2 weeks. Let's see here. I'll just go ahead and read these for now, and we'll go from there. So it looks like there was 2 in the week before this one, and it looks like 10 this week. So on August 15th, John Joseph Carl, 41 years old, from Pine Tops, North Carolina. John Carl was arrested on August 15th in Pine Tops, North Carolina. His charges: civil disorder, entering and remaining in restricted building or grounds, disorderly and disruptive conduct or grounds, parading, demonstrating, or picketing in Capitol building. It's the rest of these individuals are going to have very similar charges, or even less than that, and I'll try to call them out when I do instead of repeating them all. The next one, John Walter Clark IV, 36 years old, from Culpeper, Virginia. John Clark was arrested on August 19th in Culpeper. Thomas Hodo, 47 years old, from Snohomish, Washington. Did I say that right? Snohomish. I always look to you for those West Coast names. Thomas Hodo was arrested on August 20th in Phoenix, Arizona. Anatoly Anatolovich Lutzig, Sterling, Virginia. Anatoly Lutzig was arrested on August 21st in Sterling, Virginia.
Oh, cleaning house in Virginia.
Yeah. William Christopher Lyon, 31 years old, from Huntsville, Texas. William Lyon was arrested on August 19th in Conroe, Texas. Derek Nofsker, 47 years old, from Snohomish, Washington. Derek Nofsker was arrested on August 15th. The other gentleman was on August 20th. Interesting. Here looks like a twofer. Logan Schimmel, 23 years old, Prattsburg, New York. Logan Schimmel was arrested on August 14th in Rochester, New York. Charles E. Schimmel Sr., 53 years old, Prattsburg, New York. Charles Schimmer was arrested on August 14th in Rochester, New York. Looks like the 2 of them, I'm assuming father and son, the 2 of them named civil disorder, entering or remaining, disorderly or disruptive conduct, disorderly conduct in the Capitol building, parading, demonstrating, or picketing. Dylan Ray Swinehart, 24 years old, Palatka, Florida. Dylan Swinehart was arrested on August 20th in Palatka, Florida. He would, huh? Platka, just say Platka.
Palatka.
No, I'm saying Palatka, and you say Palatka.
Yeah, I used to live right beside you.
Okay, well, thanks. I'm just getting it
Just
straight.
didn't want a liberal to correct you.
The liberals, yeah.
I
Well.
thought you'd take it better coming from me.
Palatka. All right, so Dylan Ray. But what I was going to say is he's 24 years old. I'm imagining that's the date of the arrest, that he's 24 years old. He would have been just a 21-year-old, barely. Nathan Thornsbury, 42 years old, from North Branch, Michigan. He was arrested on August 22nd in Davison, Michigan. Now here's one that is someone that I believe that we know. David wrote right over top of the whole thing. He was arrested on August 22nd. Yeah, you know about already. In looks like Wisconsin. David has been a regular podcaster at the DC Vigils. And so I have met David, and you guys might have met David, I don't know. But that's why it's kind of been going around in circles here that David's been picked up. So I think he must, I've never really talked to him about, J6 and what he had gone through, but I think he's another one of the guys like Tommy Tatum who figured it sooner or later they're going to come and get him. Donald Ross Workman Jr., 40 years old, from Hereford, Texas. Donald Workman was arrested on August 19th in Hereford, Texas. Tanya Bishop. This is an update, so this is no more new ones. So Tanya Bishop was updated since I've got her here and I mentioned her name. She's 48 years old. She is from Snow Hill, North Carolina. Her one charge, assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers. I wish I would have opened that one up to see what exactly she did. Security footage and something showed Tanya Bishop inside the Capitol Rotunda just after 3 p.m. on January 6. Bishop pled guilty to the charge. Sentencing is set for January 10th of 2025. Kenneth Gusini, 67-year-old from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. According to court documents, surveillance footage from the U.S. Capitol building showed Kenneth entering the building via the north, and so on and so on. He pled guilty to the charge. His sentencing is set for November 22nd. Civil disorder, it was his one charge. Civil disorder.
How vague can you be? And impeding.
Right.
What's impeding? You're in the same room?
Impeding, yeah. It's just, they can say you didn't allow me to get to where I needed to go. So that's it. I think I'll stop with that, but anyway.
One thing I wanted to say is, if you go to Patriot Mail Project, and you go under the recently updated section, all these names are now listed there, like even the new ones that was just read. They're all listed under the recently updated. So that hasn't happened before. This is the first. They just changed the website a little bit.
Okay, good, thanks.
Thanks for that, Cheryl. All right, how are we doing for time? And so on, Maurice, are you getting much activity online?
We got a couple people on there.
Yeah,
And
Gene
Jeremy
Wood says
Brown
hi
is
to
down in
everybody
DC.
logged in. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Jeremy Brown is now in DC. Jeffrey Brown, his brother, went to New Orleans Bank.
I didn't realize they were brothers.
I think they're brothers.
Yeah. You heard.
So we have Joshua, Jane, and Gina online. It'll grow.
All right, I'm going to start to give a shout out for something that I think is really important for everybody who's following not only the January Sixers, but any of the other areas that affect our includes the pandemic response. It includes, well, just let me go into it. So the First Amendment Film Festival is going to be Saturday, September 14th out of Greenville, Texas. And you're all familiar with Stop Hate. David Summerall is the guiding person behind that organization. They put together the American Gulag Chronicles, the 2 books with the stories and the pictures and everything else. And here's the information on this film festival. Again, the information you can find at the website is the number 1 letter A, filmfest.com, 1afilmfest.com. Into the Light, the sequel to Out of the Shadows by filmmaker Mike Smith, who will also be in attendance, is the latest addition to the featured films for Sunday, September 15th. The First Amendment Film Fest premiere event will be a live-streamed First Amendment film outreach. The American Gulag Chronicles, the organization behind the book series of the same name, chronicling the prison sentences of January 6 defendants, and Unredacted Media are sponsors of the First American Film Fest. Tickets for the live streaming event are available at 1afilmfest.com. For $25, and you use the promo code FAFO, and you get the post-production package for free. Now, let me just stop on that. I did talk to Dave Summerall directly about that. They're encouraging, we'll go into this here in the next paragraph, watch parties. They're encouraging groups, patriot groups, churches, civic groups, families, whatever, to get together. You only need to buy one of these, and you can use it as much as you want, and you can spread it around, and you get people to come to these things. And so here's what you're going to get to see. The watch party concept is to encourage local organizations, political or otherwise, churches, neighborhoods, and individual friends and families. I must have read this earlier, to host their own event utilizing the content provided by the live streaming or festival. The mission is to encourage local engagement with exceptional content that includes films, documentaries, outtakes, interviews, awards, and extras, all available via one convenient link ahead of the 2024 presidential election. The historic Texan Theater is that's where it's going to be had. I'm not going to go into all that. The First Amendment Film Fest team has assembled a trifecta of truth film screenings to provide historical context on the COVID pandemic, the 2020 election, and the events of January 6th and at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. when the 2020 election was certified. The lineup of films on Saturday, September 14th includes in order that they will be shown. Number 1, acclaimed filmmaker Mickey Willis's third film in his Plandemic series, Plandemic 3, The Great Awakening. If you haven't watched Plandemic, the first Plandemic or the second Plandemic, it's definitely worth doing. But, here for $25, you get all these things and you can go back and, maybe dig into it a little deeper. Second film, Crusader for Truth and Integrity, Professor David Clements' documentary, Let My People Go. I think you all have seen that. And didn't you meet David Clements? Wasn't he there the day that you were down there? I'm not sure, but maybe not. He's got really long curly hair. He's a professor. I don't remember what college, but basically because First American Film Festival, 1afilmfest.com. So David Clements, Let My People Go, he was basically ousted from the university because he pushed back. He was teaching his classes about how to critically think about the events that happened and so on, and he was basically ganged up on by the board of his college, and they basically pushed him out. They wouldn't let him teach what he was trying to teach. So he has done a great job and he's been following the January 6ers, and he kind of ties it all together. But Let My People Go. There will be short films from United Kingdom filmmaker Mark Sutherland, Between Lambs and Lions and the Iris Echo. David Summerall's first J6 short documentary that was released on June 4th of 2021 called Writing History, The Journalistic Battle of January 6th. Daniel Goodwin and David Summerall's full-length film and the subject of David's interview with Tucker Carlson, J6, A True Timeline. Y'all have probably heard of that one. J6, A True Timeline is definitely one you've got to see. Renowned Texas filmmaker Chris Burgard's powerful War on Truth. Saturday evening, they'll have a Q&A panel and an award ceremony with the Lectern Awards for the filmmaker, featuring many U.S. Capitol lectern statues from, and I forgot his name, the Lectern Man, but anyway, he's going to be there as well. Readings from the Letters from Prison book and the American Gulag Chronicles. Let's see. And there are a couple other films that I think they have lined up for Sunday as well, but I don't have that on this sheet. But definitely check it out, folks. I can't say it enough. $25 is well worth it just to watch it yourself or put together a group of people and say, hey, come on together. As stated by unredacted media organizer and January 6th subject matter expert, David Summerall, we are providing the tools to educate the public through the power of film. We plan to deliver an impactful, entertaining, educational event that is shareable, affordable, and enjoyable. We are rolling out the red carpet for our VIP guests to create an incredible event that can be used as an outreach tool. As the originator of the First Amendment Film Fest, Tamara Lee, says, many Americans still don't know the truth of what exactly happened to us as a nation over the past 4 years. The power of film is that it is both public and personal. Someone may not come to a Trump rally or a political conference, but they may watch a movie with you. So again, to purchase the live streaming link, just go to 1afilmfest.com.
I've got something to offer. I don't know if this is possible, but for anybody viewing, my name's John Haynes. I'm the editor of the Northern Neck Sentinel. We come out earlier than usual this September. We're going to be out on the 5th, but the digital copies will be available on the 2nd. If the Northern Neck Patriots or anyone is interested in that type of thing, I'll promote it for free because I'll probably watch it myself if not. But anyway, I don't mean to put anybody on the spot. I think a lot of you know that we're all members of the Northern Neck Patriots, including one who's too cowardly to get on camera. But anyhow, I don't know if that's possible, but I'd be glad to offer to do that. And, you know, even if that doesn't come to fruition, I would encourage everybody to watch it.
Thanks, John. I agree, and I've already taken the liberty of getting the $25 thing for the Patriots. So I think we should go ahead and put it out there. I think we should rent the hall. So it would be, you know,
worthwhile, and it's so cost effective as opposed to everybody, you know, chipping in individually to watch the same thing. And also, you know, the camaraderie, and, you know, I just think that all of these people, it's just encouraging. I can't even keep up with it. There's so many people now publishing books and putting on special events. I mean, it's really encouraging. And I know all the people here keep up with it too, and it's gotten to where it's hard to keep up with.
It is. It absolutely is.
But that's good news, because a couple of years ago, we were scrambling to try to get a little recognition.
Anything.
Yeah, whatever. So anyway, I'm really proud of the response of the American people, and I just hope it continues.
Yeah.
so I think that's back on me then to probably put out a note to everybody about this, because our next meeting is
October 1st.
September 3rd. Now I have a speaker there that I want to talk to you guys about offline, but I think he's going to be good, or he's going to be interesting at least. So that's on the 3rd, and anybody that's near Warsaw, Virginia, you want to come and join us, that would be great. Just reach out. So yeah, we can talk about this at the meeting and promote it, because it's going to be a week and a half away from our meeting, so we'll have plenty of time. And so
Yeah, and it won't mess me up, because I can put it in there as a public service announcement, and if we decide just before publication that this event's going to be here, I'll just use that as the feature of the ad.
okay, that sounds great. I'll go ahead and get in touch with Stop Hate and get the actual formal press release so that you can have that. So that's my follow-up action item then.
Yeah, and if they've got any kind of press item prepared, I'll be glad to help promote Stop Hate too, because they're just a phenomenal group. And I think, I'm glad to see that they're getting more recognition, because they certainly deserve it.
Sure.
So I just got a book that was promoted by Suzanne Monk. It's called How to Pardon the J6ers, a comprehensive Strategy Guide for President Donald J. Trump. It wasn't promoted by, it was written by. And she's also at Freedom Corner once in a while. So this is what it looks like. You can get it on Amazon for like $5, but she suggestions were don't send it to any J6ers without their permission because we don't know. Opens the mail and sees how it's a part of the J6ers at the prison.
One of the things I wanted to touch on here, I follow quite a few folks on X that are J6 related, and one individual, his name is Tim Hale. His title is Tim Hale, Criminally Funny J6er. His handle is Lewis of Monmouth. I don't know a whole lot about Tim. I think I looked at him at what his charges were at one point, but anyway, he was commenting on the article or the program on Cowboy Logic where Kenneth Harrelson, wasn't that the name, spoke?
He did 4 segments.
Yeah, so John suggested that I go to Cowboy Logic and looked up that interview, and you're right, it was 4 segments. I just sat and watched one after the other. And I think that was fairly recent, right? It was only 2 or 3 weeks ago. So you can still find it fairly easily. Just go to Cowboy Logic and scroll down.
And he talked quite a bit about Northern Neck Regional Jail specifically.
Oh, wow.
Yes, in case you couldn't hear that, he did. Kenneth spoke about Northern Neck Regional Jail. In fact, it was kind of funny because Don was trying to dig into that and understand it, and Donna was changing the subject, and he had to keep bringing it back to it. What he could learn about how awful our local jail is. So,
not to interrupt you, because I'm afraid I'll forget due to my age. We're going to have a front page article with the latest updates on the Northern Neck Jail situation. We've been getting a lot of input the last couple months that I haven't reported on yet. It does not appear that things are getting any better there. And anyway, I believe it's the second Wednesday of the month now. They changed the meeting date. So just a little word to the wise. A little birdie told me that there may be some revelations forthcoming. So I'll just leave it at that.
So yes, you're right. September 11th is the next jail board meeting.
At 4 p.m.
4 p.m. Thanks, Cheryl. Yep. All right. So what Tim was commenting on was careful not to name some names about things that were going on. So I'll just read the post. I've been asked to address something. We J6ers have a gentleman's agreement with Cowboys on live TV because we appreciate the platform and don't want to get them in legal trouble. This is important because Cowboy Logic are some of the few advocates for January 6th defendants who will even address the fact that we were living with DOJ informants inside the Gulag. And I would say inside the Northern Neck Regional Jail too, if you look at some of who the individuals were. An entire network of grifters and apologists has been built around January 6th, and virtually none of them will tell you the truth about how disunited we were in the DC Gulag after January 6th. There was a lot of division, and it originated with the very people Ken mentions in this video. Off the air, it's on those of us who lived through the snitching to speak up about it publicly. I've been doing that for months now and will continue to do so. When Ken talks about guys using incendiary rhetoric to incite others, he's talking about X, Y, Z, and A. Constantly advocating the assassination of politicians, forming violent militias, and recreating the Oklahoma City bombing. Some of the individuals my boy Ken talked about as bragging about snitching outside his cell were so on and so on. Some of the worst chaos agents inside the DC Gulag after January 6th. They all repeatedly left out their legal communications showing cooperation with prosecutors as well. So I think what he's saying there is when they're talking, hey, what are you in for? Tell them this, that, the other thing, they conveniently don't mention the fact that they're cooperating. Someone was mentioning a Hillary support for Hillary Clinton. One of them admitted to being an anarchist. One admitted to being an Antifa member. One guy bragged about stabbing a cop in the face. One guy bragged about beating cops with a baseball bat. Not all January 6 defendants are Trump supporters or went to the Capitol on January 6 for the right reasons. Not everybody who's been incarcerated has been a political prisoner. There are rats who were deployed to entrap innocent people. It's important for the public to understand that Ray Epps was just one guy in an ocean of agitators. And it's time for J6 advocacy groups to stop being cowards and address the fact that we've been infiltrated. That story needs to be told. And I'm grateful Cowboy Logic has the courage to let it be told whenever I or Kenny join them. It's not divisive or infighting when you were never on the same side in the first place. I will not advocate for Antifa. I will not advocate for informants. I will not advocate for those who stabbed my friends and I in the back. So again, Tim Hale on X, at Lewis of Monmouth. You want to post that on there, Maurice? You can post his address if you'd like. What do you think? Pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah, this is something we've been following a while, and we've all discussed this among ourselves as far as being careful about disclosing names. Quite often I would actually ask the detainee I was talking to if they realized this was going to go public, and generally they say, go ahead, let it rip, I'll take the chance, and they pay the price for it. I think I was also glad that Tom brought up the fact that a lot of these snitches were there against Trump. They were there trying to stop the peaceful rally. I believe, I can't think of the guy's name, I believe it may be Higgins, the Republican congressman from Louisiana, said he believes there were at least 250 government-affiliated agitators there. But you also have to realize there were a lot of people that weren't directly working with the government that are just anti-American. So, of course, these people that were there to stop Trump are going to turn once they get in jail. Why wouldn't they? They were trying to damage the MAGA movement to begin with, which is why they were there. The best known, and his name's already out there, so I'm not worried about protecting him, Zachary Alam. He's now claiming that he's a big fan of Ashley Babbitt, who died because of Alam's actions. Alam is the one who knocked the window out that Ashley Babbitt was shot. Advocate. Well, this is the same advocate that we've had other encounters with. He started a fight just before sentencing for one of the J6ers I won't mention, and sure enough, at the sentencing hearing, that specific incident was brought up. So obviously, he collaborated with the prison authorities to help stage that. And I think there was a lot more of that going on than people know. I know we intentionally did not bring it up at certain points to protect people, but this is part of the MO of the prison system. Turning one inmate against another, you offer the snitch a reduced sentence, and they were the ones really causing the mayhem, but they're the ones getting off the lightest. So it just shows the deep corruption of our legal system and the fact that we need to elect Donald Trump. I'm sorry you don't hear me do a lot of political speech here, but all this hard work we've done, if Trump doesn't get in, our efforts are going to be diminished. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to quit. I know I'm not. But I think, just think of this. We have all contributed a lot to J6ers, and we will continue to. But the best way you can help them right now is to get Donald Trump elected. It's just that simple.
Amen to that. Trump 2024. I think I'm just going to leave that 0 on there, though. All right, let's see what else we got.
Just, it was funny because we went to get our cars inspected today, and the person who owns the shop, he's a big Trump supporter, and my car and all the other cars are full of Trump flags and
He's loving it.
Trump stickers and everything. So we always talk politics, Maurice too. He's a little quiet tonight. But anyway, we walked in to pick up the car, and he says, "Here, I have a bobblehead for you, a Trump bobblehead, Trumpinator, I guess it was called." And he goes, "Somebody gave it to me, I have 2, and so he knew that we're for Trump, and so now I have a new bobblehead."
Tom, you think we should promote that Trump fundraiser while we're talking about the,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a local event, but sure.
right? Tom's got the poster here. It's, I don't know if you can see it from here, but, well, Tom's lovely assistant has a copy, so maybe she can do it too. But anyway, it's October 12th. They're gonna have, Representative Whitman, Delegate Hillary Kent, and most importantly, U.S. Senator candidate Hung Chow. So it's going to be the 12th. It starts at 2 p.m., runs till 5 p.m. It's $20 per person, and that includes hot dogs, soft drinks, and water. They're also for purchase, which is where you'll be able to find Marisa or I if you're trying to.
Tickets.
They're gonna have music, and hopefully it'll be a good turnout. And speaking of promotions, don't forget Cheryl Johnson, sitting right here, has a newsletter she puts out on a regular basis that's full of good J6 information. Also, Heather Young has an excellent, I guess you'd call it a newsletter or something similar to that. As far as blogs and that type of thing, there's Jen Baker. Of course, the Northern Neck Patriots, you can go to their website, and thanks to the Johnsons here, the website's been greatly improved the last few months. So anyway, I just like to encourage you to take advantage of some of these sources. And there are others. Mel Hawley has a good telecast, and I know there's many I'm leaving out. In fact, the J6ers have one they're doing directly now. I think it's called We Are Good Men. Does that sound right? Anyway, yeah, they're doing one directly, a podcast directly from the Gulag to the guys who are running it. So you might check that out too. But anyway, there's a lot going on out there for you to support. So now's the time to get to it.
Cheryl, this question is for you. Since you're selling tickets, is there a reason why we might want to have a table there? Is there a possibility to have a table there?
I don't know.
Assume yes until told otherwise, so if you want, we can ask about that.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
they're-
That was your idea, by the way.
Yeah, they're gonna have a full page, we have a half page ad this month on the event. There'll be a full page ad next month with all the details, so.
Well, John came up with the thought of having a table there as a great way to kind of do a little bit of recruiting and marketing, at least, and getting our name out there locally again.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been to any events up there.
No, and I've also agreed to provide free copies of the Sentinel to hand out. So I would imagine we'll have a pretty good presence. As far as I can tell, I'm 90% sure that Northumberland County has more members in the Northern Neck Patriots than any other county. In fact, now that I think about it, I am sure. So I would encourage any of the listeners to come to this event. Last year, they had a horrible rainstorm for their annual oyster roast, which is basically replacing. But anyway, despite the horrible weather, they had 1,200 people show up. So I'm expecting this to be a big event. I'm going to be there myself. And I've been working with some of the people behind the scenes. I think it's going to be quite an event.
We'll be there too.
Oh, let's see here if we have any updates. I have a text from a viewer who refuses to log into YouTube to comment, but he gave me lots of comments here. So, Anderson Elevator Drilling, I hope your hole this week went well, and I hope that job got finished. Say hello to hang in there to those poor bastards suffering at the hands of absolute morons. There you go. Couldn't have said it better.
I have asked the people that are organizing the Trump rally if be at a table.
You already did that?
Yeah.
There you go. That's efficiency. All right, I'm going to change gears a little bit. This is from a patriot group that I've followed from Pennsylvania, like Cumming County Patriots. And you recall Ron Hauser's editor that you put in the Sentinel as a letter to the editor, I think 2 months ago, and that was a fantastic letter.
Very well read.
So this is a letter he put out to his group, and I'm just going to grab it and pass it on, so I know he won't mind at all. To all patriots, I would like to take a moment today to recognize once again one of our valued Patriot members who this past Monday evening took his time to expose and discuss the Kooth mental health scam that is rapidly overtaking our schools. Kooth. This local expert, demonstrated for all of us what commitment and diligence is to our charge as patriots, to our communities at large, and what that can do. He helped many of us realize and understand the threat that this Kooth program embodies, and along with other sundry school programs, the work we need to do to push back on each and every nefarious plan the leftists and progressives bring to bear on us. We are blessed with a great organization with wonderful people, and in this, I should certainly think each and every one of you wish to extend a heartfelt and sincere thank you to this gentleman, Mr. Hafner, for his excellent report and expose on Kooth this past Monday evening. It was very much appreciated. In this, we should all know and embrace our own power to make positive changes in our communities, our nation, and our world. Please consider your own unique gifts, talents, and power to make our country far better, as Mr. Hafner has done on Monday night. Your help and engagement is needed too. We are much stronger when we all participate as best we can in these momentous and pivotal times. Let's follow Mr. Hafner's example and share our information with the group whenever any of us has important insights that can help to maintain our freedom. Thank you again, and thank you all for standing for guard each and every day for our nation's freedom and liberty. God bless you all, and God bless America. So if anybody's already just done a web search on Kooth, it is a program, a mental health program, where basically they focus on the children's feelings, and they're encouraging them to explore things that I think are concepts that are probably left for adults. And I encourage everybody to look it up. I spent a little time looking at it, but yeah, it's a full program with lots of shiny ads and cartoon, characterizations and posters and things that they're putting up. But anytime a kid feels, geez, a little bit like they don't fit in, when did that ever happen to any of us growing up? As soon as that happens, they need to go and start looking into perhaps they need some kind of psychological help or worse. So encourage everybody to look it up, Kooth program. That's all you need to do.
I'd just like to say this is all part of the larger movement where the schools are trying to replace the parents. Of course, they do still accept their tax dollars, but this whole notion of these unqualified people trying to provide psychiatric care to children who are going through normal growth stages is just absolutely ridiculous. And it actually impedes their coping power, because every time they get offended or concerned about something, instead of teaching them to deal with it, we shelter them, and then they use that misplaced trust to convince these children of all different types of things. Does anybody really think it's a coincidence that the rate of children who identify with gender issues has gone up 4,000%? Does anyone think that's a coincidence?
4 years.
Yeah, in 4 years. No, it's not. It's because they're impressionable, which is why the communists and socialists have always gone after the children. And they make no bones about it. The fact is, all that they should be allowed to do is to teach facts to children. They have no business advising them about their sexual habits, which should not even be discussed with people that age. It's inappropriate. They cannot cope with it. And the way they try to get around it, they try to say, well, oh, you're somehow prejudiced against homosexuals, for instance. No, I don't want children learning about heterosexual inappropriate sex at a young age either. It has nothing to do with your persuasion. It's the subject altogether. That should be left to the parents or the church or the spiritual advisors. And if the child has a serious problem, they should be treated by a medical profession outside of the school system. The schools should be there solely to educate, not to indoctrinate, not to be their spiritual advisor, because we all know, and this has been the same way for decades, as far as the majors that people take in college, education majors have consistently had the lowest entry scores going in of any major. And this has been going on for decades. But simultaneously, they have the highest graduation rates. Now, and these are the geniuses that think that they should be running our families for us. So anyway, I'm glad to see that several universities have completely liquidated their DEI staffs. Several large corporations are starting to do the same. But the problem is, look at all the damage they've done in the meantime. You know, children that were going through normal growing pains, now a lot of them have been ruined for life, especially the ones that are encouraged to take hormones and submit to surgeries. And there's a wave of lawsuits now coming back on these people. And that's why these DEI programs are starting to dissolve. As always, it comes back to the almighty dollar. Once you start suing people, they start paying attention. And one last thing on that note, I didn't get a chance to explore it very deeply, but just before I left, I saw that they had reinstated the lawsuit, the $150 million lawsuit filed by 78 different J6ers. I believe that Mr. Lang is the lead plaintiff, but I think several others have signed on, a total of 78, several of whom were lodged, I might say, at the Northern Neck Regional Jail. So anyway, that's hopeful. Mickey Whithoff's family, their lawsuit is also proceeding. So as discouraged as things are now, just like the opioid situation, once these massive money settlements start hitting, I think you're going to see the wind start blowing a little bit different direction.
Speaking of good news, on a slightly different topic, more about children. This week in Florida, there were 148 individuals arrested from the same sting, where they were trafficking in children. And there's actually a lot that goes into this. I don't want to get too terribly carried away, but there were only 3 kids rescued. 148 arrests, and there's only 3 children that were saved. That the ratio is kind of, the signal to noise there is just a little bit off, but we would hope for better, but it is what it is. They got 148. saw today on the same topic that illustrates how the child trafficking coming across the border has increased over 280% in just the last 3 years. So just keep that part in mind. But don't forget, there's 148 people that were arrested and put away for this stuff. But that happens in Florida. Now, if it was in Michigan, they'd all be walking the streets. But in Florida, they got put away.
Yeah, on the subject of children's health, I had made extensive notes before coming up here about some of the news of the day, because I had a feeling that the J6ers are going to have an increasingly difficult time getting through to us. And unfortunately, that appears to be the case. But back to children's health, I'm sure most of you already know that Robert Kennedy has suspended his operation in all the battleground states and has come out and endorsed Donald Trump. That happened this afternoon. And he said the three biggest issues that he's going to work with Trump on are big pharma, freedom of speech, and children's health. So we now have a former Democrat, I guess current independent, jumping on the bandwagon, standing up for the children. So, you know, if you won't defend your children, I would just like to know what exactly would you be willing to defend? And I think this is something we can't emphasize enough, because obviously the left is going after our faith and our families because those are the bedrock of America. And if those aren't worth fighting for, I just don't know what is.
And your ability to defend yourself, don't forget that.
That's right. Carol just chipped in. The ability to defend yourself, Second Amendment, which I think kind of ties in with the other two, because you can't be free if you can't defend yourself. Good time.
Hello, this is a call from the Central Detention Facility. To hear your payment options, press 0. To refuse this call, hey, to receive calls from this inmate, you must first fund an account by using MasterCard or Visa. You may also visit us online. The party which you called has selected to set up or fund a prepaid account to their phone number. This call will now be disconnected so that a prepaid account will be funded for future calls. Please try your call again in a few minutes. Thank you for choosing to create or recharge your prepaid account with MasterCard or Visa. You may purchase between $25 and $100 of prepaid phone time. Enter the dollar amount as the purchase. Please enter your credit card number now, followed by the tap.
We're gonna hear.
Yeah, I don't know, I just messed up. Did that.
Oh, when I closed it off?
Hang on a second.
Cheryl might be one of those plants.
Yeah, she's a good one too.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, she's got us all fooled.
she's got quite a cover.
Sorry. I want to talk to you guys about that
So
too.
since we have a minute, that's for you. It got to me from,
Oh, Robert,
That guy? yeah.
yeah, I
So-
used to talk to him all the time before he got into the big system.
Yeah, so he sent it to me because of when you read it, you'll understand. And that thing that you don't understand, that was me.
Well, that's not,
Don't feel alone, John.
well, for one thing, he was on the front
But you'll
page last
understand
month.
once you see what you don't
And
understand.
I wanted
There
to
you
get in
go.
touch with his family anyway to send paper copies. Because I always try to do that if somebody's on the front page, get their family
Yeah,
copies.
he got one.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not gonna take the meeting time to read it, but
So
thank
he
you.
got one, but he says thank you.
Yeah. He's a wonderful guy. In fact, just to fill time. For those of you who are less familiar with the subject, I believe it was in January of 2022 that my first article was written about them. And of course, the Patriots were all over it. They were on it early. And I think the very first person that wrote a letter to us and got in touch with us was Robert Morse. And he did a lot of wonderful things when he was there. He was a trustee. He organized a prayer group. And he used to write letters which they would read live when we just very first started going. And I believe it was, last month we published a letter from him. I know you guys are very familiar with it. But mark my words, he's going to be one of the leaders coming out. He's very eloquent. He served, I believe, 3 combat tours it was. And suffered pretty greatly over there. He didn't talk about it a lot, but he had some significant injuries. He was a history teacher at the time that he was arrested and had done several wonderful projects in his community. I know he's associated with a big mural and several other things. But anyway, he's just a wonderful human being. And I'm looking forward to reading his letter.
He's teaching at the prison, history.
I think Tom, just to update you guys, he's trying to, I think, get the payment system set up to take the calls. So this shouldn't take long. Tom's used to dealing with debt collectors, so he's got a lot of experience in that regard. And if not, I'll be glad to help him. But anyway, hopefully we can get back online. It sounded like the first caller was James Grant, and hopefully he can get back in touch with us. He's also a very impressive individual that we've had the opportunity to talk with quite a bit. And I believe he was just getting ready to go into law school when he was arrested. So anyway, hopefully we'll get our technical problems straightened out and be right back with you. Anything to do with blue crabs, I don't know about.
So we were talking about James Grant. Just want to let you know that his sentencing is coming up in September 19th at 10 o'clock, as well as Benjamin Burlew, September 20th at 10 o'clock. And a few others were moved to October. Victor Dennison, his is August 27th. It's a trial at 9:30. And Victor Dennison goes by Sean, if you look him up.
Oh, never mind, much for the Democrat committee. Not that I'm partisan.
Did you get, the thing I wanted to talk to you off from Chris today?
I got,
Oh, no.
we get emails almost every day from him.
This was this afternoon.
Oh,
I asked
God.
him, what do you want me to do with that? So Maurice is planning to polish it up a little bit and put it on the Northern Net website.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he wants you to.
I did reply to him, and I just told Chris, I said, I get a lot of stuff, J6, some I can publish, some I can't,
Right.
but I can't give you any guarantees. And,
Did you get that one, do you know, today? It's about, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that online.
yeah, this is, I think just an expanded version of the first one I got. He said he was still working on it. But a lot of times too, I don't think some of the J6s like Chris, like this particular submission doesn't have anything at all to do with J6.
No.
Which I'm not saying it's not valid, I don't mean that the wrong way. But I'm
Right.
trying to concentrate on actual J6.
Exactly,
You
exactly.
know, so.
Did you want this to be polished up for you for
Not really. I think it's primarily about gender
Right.
type stuff.
He's gonna put it on our website. It's a pretty good writing.
Well, I agree with pretty much what he.
Get you good. Who knows? I haven't looked at my email in 2 days. I'm afraid to. I'm afraid to.
Probably are afraid to.
I told him I'm busy for the next 3 days. I'll get to it in a few days. And when I talk to his, never mind. I'll tell you all later. I'll tell you all later.
So, in other news about election integrity, the U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday delivered a mixed ruling on the controversial Arizona voting law. In a 5-4 decision, that was a little bit disheartening because we had, I guess it wasn't really too terribly heartening, Judge John joined in with the other side. But the bottom line is that in the state of Arizona,
Judge who?
I call him Judge John.
I know Amy Coney Barrett did.
Yeah, she did, and so did, where's his name here? Or I'm thinking of a different story. Anyhow, so in Arizona, identification and proof of citizenship is required to vote in the state of Arizona now.
Thank God.
Yeah.
It always was,
Agreed. It always was, but when there's
it
a court
enforced?
case, a judge has to drop a gavel.
It was? Okay.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that's kind of a win,
Uh,
I think. Yes, it is. It's a win.
okay.
Well, primarily, the only caveat is, it doesn't necessarily, well, I don't want to get into the weeds too far, but it's overall a win, no doubt. I just put it that way.
Yeah, everybody's got to show their face on a piece of plastic that's issued by the government, unless, of course, they're getting them at the gate at the southern border. But then that's a different story, right? So I've seen some interesting arguments.
They're DMV, right? I mean, their driver's license, that
Yeah.
allows them
That's
to
a big
vote,
loophole.
right?
Yeah, it's a
That's
huge.
what's scary.
It is. It's a huge loophole. Oh, well, wait a second. It's not an accidental loophole.
No, it's
That
not.
loophole has been in the planning and building
It's-
for
They've
decades.
been using it for a long time.
Yeah, there was, I guess we could go back to kids a little bit. You recall back in the late 90s and early 2000s how there was a lot of this turmoil over priests abusing children. Well, out there in California, Kamala Harris, well, first of all, in San Francisco, they were pursuing this. And then all of a sudden, Kamala Harris won an election and she shut down all the investigations. And I bet that's something that a lot of people out there don't know, that she actually shut down the investigations of child abuse on the part of the priests and didn't send anybody to prison. And in fact, her excuse was, well, it could cause trauma for the victims, so we're just not. It's true. I lived out there. She was a nightmare.
Yeah, but it also came out that she had some very prominent financiers who felt very strongly on the subject,
Oh,
and that some major campaign donations
she
were
was
made
bright.
for this perverse whatever.
Yeah, and it was pointed out that she won an election, and the massive investigation of these individuals that have insane backing suddenly stops. Now, did she win the election or was she installed? I'm just asking for a friend because I don't know. I'm learning as I go here, but did she really win, or let's not be naive and think that election cheating is new.
Right.
It's been around since there's elections have ever
Just
been.
getting bolder and bolder as time goes on.
And it's worth pointing out that originally paper ballots were used to cheat. Just saying, they can be made better than they used to be.
One interesting fact too with the Democrats is they're nonpartisan cheaters. They cheat in their own primaries, And they get caught all the time.
Yeah.
Cheating among themselves, and that's why you're asking about Kamala, if she really won the election.
Who knows?
That's a 90% Democrat state. There are no real elections in California.
And it almost makes the question irrelevant. It should be assumed, because that's just the way it
Well,
works,
everyone knows
right?
she's
That's the
appointed.
way she,
You know, and-
the candidate, she was selected.
Yeah.
The people didn't choose.
Yeah, they don't have elections, they have selections.
Exactly. They just put an S at the front. Selection.
But my husband says legally, they're allowed to do that. Legally, they can make up their own rules, so
They can.
that's what he said. I'm like, really?
Yeah, they can.
You'd think we would all have to
So-
abide by the same rules for it to be fair and equal, wouldn't
But you see, in the national conventions, the DNC was actually structured to be that flexible. The RNC was never that flexible. Although you can't always judge from appearances, because they're kind of messed up too. But the DNC's always been a freaking free-for-all, unless things were going smoothly the way they wanted it.
Right.
Then it looks more legit. But if it's like now,
Everybody's
everybody,
scrambling on the ship and running around in circles.
there's people out there claiming that Kamala. I'm sorry, she's not that intelligent. She can't do that. Somebody else pulled that off.
Puppet masters might have, but it wasn't Kamala.
Right, it wasn't
She's one
Kamala.
of the puppets too.
So, and one more little tidbit for the kids. This country would be 17% larger in population if not for abortion. And that would be just on the Afro-American side. That's 17% of this country's population from the African-American side are not here because of abortion. Just saying so. I did the math.
Yeah,
You're gonna kill me.
I don't know Maurice's exact reference point, but there's been that significant gap has existed for a long time. And then you also have to factor in that blacks, especially young black males, die at a disproportionately higher rate too, which is why, if you have to wonder, the Hispanics 50 years ago were probably 2% of the population, now they're 30.
Yeah.
The blacks 50 years ago were 12.5%, they're still 12.5%.
Right.
Does that seem just a little odd to anybody? Because the same system supposed to protect them, the social services concept, the great giveaways, has ruined the black family.
Yeah.
And even Obama, before he got completely perverted, admitted that the breakdown of the black family is their primary problem. Of course, he'll no longer admit that. But back in the old days, he used to admit that.
Yeah,
Johnson used to say that on a regular basis.
because it's easier to be the victim.
Back in the 60s,
Oh, yeah.
a Democrat.
So to kind of give it a rundown, since the decision in Roe v. Wade back in 1973 until today, roughly today, not exactly today because the numbers aren't updated that frequently, depending on who you ask, anywhere from 71 to 77 million abortions have been performed. Of those abortions, between 42 and 47 million of them were from the African American community. Do the math, it works out to, again, depending on who you ask, anywhere between 15 and 17%. Based on the population, the legal population of the United States. Little facts that you want to know.
Well, that's why it's so fascinating, the fact that almost all the growth in the black vote for Trump is among the males. Because the males, the black males, are the ones who grew up fatherless. They're the quote-unquote beneficiaries of this perverse system. So, you know, they've suffered the brunt of it. And I think the J6ers have done a great job exposing the horrors of the penal system. And I know a lot of whites, non-minorities, are not incarcerated on as high a rate, and I don't think a lot of them were honestly aware of it. But I think the J6ers, who are almost all white, have proven that if you disagree with the machine, you're going to get persecuted regardless of race. Ask a black conservative what it's like to be discriminated against. So
It's kind of like if the mayor of your town is working for the mafia, you could end up in jail for speaking your mind. If the mayor of your town is legit and a good guy, you may not have to worry about that if you're speaking your mind. So just think about the mayor in your town, I guess.
Warsaw's jamming.
Yeah, what's going on tonight?
They have a band down there. It's a party on, not on the Potomac, but it's just some gathering. My friend was telling me about it.
Yeah, it's packed.
Oh yeah, they got a big band down there, beer truck. They're all
I went by
partying.
to drop off and check the town office, which is right beside we do deliveries. I couldn't even get in there.
Well, that's why I was a couple of minutes behind because I got stuck in the line up there going in and out of the park. You can hear them when you go out the door. They're having fun. Maurice, are you warm enough yet?
Oh, he likes it.
I know he does.
I'll be wearing a short sleeve shirt until at least January.
Oh my gosh.
Middle of
Always.
January.
He doesn't have long sleeve shirts. Oh, he has a jacket.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
What temperature do you keep your house?
68.
60?
68.
Oh, wow.
In
Mine
the,
is 76.
in the summertime, it's 68, in the wintertime, it's 71, 72.
Oh boy, you cook them.
Yeah, electric bill is very, very high. It's very big.
Man,
Any luck?
Well, I need them to call me back, and they're working on it. But maybe I'm gonna try to figure out how to call the company and just get my card in that way.
We're having difficulties here. Apparently there's a denial of service attack, just like there was with Elon Musk and Trump the other night.
I should have stayed quiet.
no, elaborate. What are you talking
So,
about?
Trump and Elon Musk, they did an interview on X, formerly Twitter,
Uh-huh.
and they were 40 minutes late getting started because there was a cyber attack known as a distributed denial of service attack
Okay.
on X that prevented them from coming online. You know where that came from? Yeah. Somebody didn't want that thing to happen.
Obvious, but who is behind that? Who actually controls what's on the internet now? Honestly, any one entity, multiple entities? Because I'd like to know. We need to go take care of
It's actually a
things.
complicated answer, you know, everybody said, thinks that Dan.
That's right, tell us who.
That the former vice president, built the internet, and that's really not true. Cisco Systems built the internet. But, the people that can actually manipulate things really well.
Our government, for one thing. But besides
There's people that can bring entire nations to their knees.
wasn't it
and
Biden,
they're-
they said, called up and he threatened some of them and told them what they could air?
Yes.
From an interview,
Oh, yeah.
the newscasters, and they do it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Or is
don't-
that courtesy for Trump?
Yeah, exactly. They don't do that.
Wait, let's see this book.
enlarge this for you. Here, this is pictures of. No, oh, wow.
So Ohio's red, right? As a state, Ohio is a red state.
Yeah,
That's what I would think.
well, generally, and they're pretty strong polls right now.
Yeah, they are, and the Ohio Secretary of State says there's 138 non-citizens voted in recent elections.
Go on.
Yeah,
Take your wife
yeah.
back.
And they just arrested several in Florida.
Maurice, make your wife sit down and behave herself.
Yeah, I wonder how that's all gonna play out. It's gonna be interesting to watch.
Well, you know, it's funny, it took years for it to reach this point, and unfortunately, we can't just flick a switch. But if you keep up with it, every week there's one or two states where something is gradually being corrected, reinstated, and they're gradually bleeding these people off. I believe it was Arizona. They removed a bunch of dead people. And I know it sounds semi-comical, but the more we can reduce that, because that's what they do. They create excess votes that aren't really there.
Right.
And then people don't understand the key with getting the election, the illegals on the rolls, most of them are not going to vote because it would look suspicious. Hundreds of people that can't speak English voting at once. No, but then they get on the rolls and
That's when they can do the dumps, though.
yeah, and then the little sneaky internet trolls figure out how to record those votes for Democrats. So the key is, and all the experts say this, don't let them get on the rolls to begin with.
Exactly.
And then they can't drag their feet to remove them because they weren't there to begin with.
Thank you.
So that's even another court case that's
They didn't
been
belong
floating
there to begin
around
with.
recently about that. God, there's just so much going on. I can't keep up with it all. But the voter rolls, I think it was Michigan, was taken to court because I forget the name of the act that Congress passed back in the 90s. But basically, the states are supposed to maintain clean rolls by virtue of a reasonable effort. And while it sounds rather nebulous, reasonable effort, it turns out that on the people's side, the argument is it makes it fairly quantitative what a reasonable effort is simply by going to the dictionary and looking up the two words, reasonable and effort. So that's kind of the argument, and they resuscitated a particular case just this last week on that particular point. And at stake is several tens of thousands of bad voters on the voter rolls that have been dead for decades, and they're still on the rolls. That's not an accident, folks. That is not an accident. And so and the same thing's going on in Arizona. I think they have several thousand votes from 2020. I don't remember the exact number because it's been a while since I saw that article, but Arizona's bad. Michigan's bad. We all know this. But the court cases are working through the machine, just as John was pointing out. It's too bad we can't do this like flipping a switch, but it's coming to pass, and all of us conspiracy analysts have been shown to be right.
It's funny on the conspiracy. I had one of my few liberal friends who's actually got some manners, and we were talking about this the other day. Conspiracy theories. I said, go back 2 years ago, all these things that were conspiracy theories, how many of them were not proven? And he sat there for about a minute, and he couldn't come up with a single one. And of course, I started rattling off the laptop from hell, you know, all the different lies they've been caught in. You know,
Insurrection. There is a lie.
Insurrection.
Insurrection charge.
Well, this is the problem. We keep saying the biggest dirty trick of all time, but then we just they managed to keep a walking corpse in office for almost 4 years. That he was just sharp as a tack until he wasn't.
Right, those were our conspiracy theories that he wasn't fit.
So all these we ought to have a contest. Name the conspiracy theory that didn't come true.
That could be like a game played at a bar.
Well, if you gotta play a game, that's not a bad place, I guess. Anyway,
Yeah, it's it's amazing what the score is on the conspiracy theories these days. You're right. Nearly every single one has come true. Every one that you can actually remember. There's some out there that faded away and went back underneath the rug, but there's an awful lot of them that have come true. Not the least of which is the state of affairs for the 2020 election.
Yeah, I just recently got an email from a liberal, and I'll give him credit. He admitted he was liberal, and he admitted that he was biased. But it was
that.
regarding some writings I've done regarding research from Trevor Loudon, who's actually a podcaster and pretty brilliant guy. He's from New Zealand, and he referred to him as a conspiracy theorist. I said, well, fair enough. Name, what particular conspiracies he's espoused that are false. And he said he would get back with me. That's been a few days ago. So I don't expect to hear back from him.
at least he was polite. I mean,
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that. I had fat fingers on the first round and I wasn't able to enter the numbers in correctly. So figured it out. I think we're funded again. That was John Copeland that tried to call a second time, and so they shut him down until they got my money. And hopefully John will call back and James will call back. And it is, 8:30, so not going to be a lot of calls, but hopefully one of those will get back to us.
Too bad we can't tell them we're ready.
Yeah, I know.
No, I just saw it.
Liberty, justice, equality.
Yeah, and I was kind of attracted to that until I saw who the sponsor was.
Exactly.
In which case, I immediately lost interest.
This is something, there's been a lot of commentary on the DNC that just ended. And I've never seen so many platitudes with so few specifics. Peace, democracy. And this democracy thing is getting old.
Oh.
America is not a democracy.
I know, save our democracy, the big banners everywhere now.
We're a constitutional republic. Pure democracy is yeah, it's tyrannical by nature. And it means that if you get 51 votes, the other 49 votes have no rights whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's pure democracy.
Tyranny of the masses. An observation could be made. If you look, and you can find this on the internet just about anywhere, there's all these little news clips about a threat to our democracy,
Yes.
a threat to our democracy. It's said everywhere. Jake Tapper, Don Lemon, all of them.
Big
they're
sign right
they're
down the
saying,
road.
yeah, a threat to our democracy. Well, I got a question. Who is the our in
Yeah.
our democracy?
It's not
Because
us.
the people here, we like that republic thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the our democracy, that dictatorship they're looking for in the democracy,
That's one dictator
it's
now.
it's those clowns that currently have power right now. It's their democracy,
Yep.
not ours.
Absolutely.
So when they say it's a threat to our democracy, remember the our part is a club and you're not in it.
And the other big thing is inclusivity.
Yeah.
Go to a Democrat
Unless
committee
you're white.
meeting and let them know you're Republican and see just how included you
Or
are.
Republican, yeah.
These are the most intolerant people on earth. But I'll tell you something. There's a famous, it's like a short poem. It's called "The Man Who Just Wanted to Be Left Alone." It's anonymous. And it talks about the fact that the average person just wants to go about their life. They're not interested in bossing other people around or telling them how to live. And a lot of times people take advantage of someone like that who's minding their own business. But there comes a point where your life becomes so intolerable that this person says, well, you've ruined my life, so I have nothing to lose anymore.
Right.
And that's where America is now. It's become intolerable in many ways to live in this country. And I have no illusions. As the editor of a conservative paper, I know that if Trump loses, they'll be coming after people like me, and even members of these local groups. But you know what? There's a lot more of us than there are of them. We're the kind of people that know how to make things and we know how to break things. So just like King Charles learned about 2.5 centuries ago, be careful when you start messing with the middle class, because there's a lot more of us than there are of you, and we know how to take care of ourselves. So I'm not going to go any further than that, but just read between the lines.
You know, that discussion's being had an awful lot more frequently out in the general population. You're right.
As it should be.
People are fed up, and it's. I don't know what the powder is in the keg, but it's definitely a powder keg of some sort.
Well, and don't ever forget who lit the fuse.
Oh, we know who lit the fuse.
You know,
One thing about it, when you poke the bear, that's on the supposition that the bear is going to stay in the cage. The problem is,
He's still in hibernation.
America has a way to unlock that cage. It's called the election. And all you have to do is win one major election, and the bear is loose. And if we win this, I would suggest that, no, let's not get into a kumbaya moment. Let's figure out how they ruin the country and make sure they can never do it again. We don't have to do it with brutal means. We don't have to do it dishonestly. But after all the suffering the American people have endured, we would be fools if we don't take advantage of this opportunity, because the country's mobilized, and it's getting more mobilized, because in my position, and even y'all's position being involved in it, the public upswell is noticeable. I mean, my emails have doubled in the last 6 months.
Good.
And the whole, people that used to before say, well, we can work it out, they understand you cannot work it out. You cannot reason with someone who's unreasonable.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
You can't argue with a sick mind. Joe Walsh.
Dan Walsh? Oh, Walsh, I'm sorry.
Now, you're right, though. The mobilization is palpable and it's visible. We're seeing it. And the good news is that when we see somebody that used to be from the other side come over to our side, we don't beat them up for ever having been on the other side. And we didn't even have to encourage people to be nice to people that are coming from the other side. We just operate that way for the same reason you just said. People understand the idea that is to live your life and not be messed with.
Well, there was just recently a Democrat congressman, I can't remember his name, he was just on TV, and he was talking about he went to a Trump event, Trump rally, and said he was amazed how well treated he was. And he kind of apologized. He said, you know, I kind of feel bad now. They convinced me that this was the way it was, but it wasn't at all. And several liberals have come out, so-called influencers, a lot of minorities. The one that was at the convention, I can't remember her name, the black lady who spoke, but she was just saying, you guys lied to me all my life, and I caught you lying to me, so game's over. And one thing I have noticed, former Democrats or people who lean left, when they switch, sometimes they're our best people because they have a sense of betrayal.
Yeah, and their anger is fresh.
Sure, it's like you've lied to me for years and I caught you. And, you know, they feel betrayed, and they were betrayed.
Hell hath no fury.
So where you guys were going there a minute ago with the upswelling of patriotic involvement and attention that we're seeing now, I absolutely agree with you guys. And I want to say this, I've had this conversation with, we're an affiliate of the Tea Party, and there was a group call the other night, and it was said on there, well, our next summit's going to be November 20th, something like that, and hopefully we'll be happy after the election. And I agree with that, but I don't think hope is a strategy. And I say this, people, because do not think for one moment that they will not try to take this thing back again, just like they did before. So, a couple of things, my opinion only, do your research, whatever, get out and vote early. The longer you wait, the more easy it is for them to try to flip things at the last moment. So if we get on record, check our votes, make sure that they're in, get out there and vote early, use their system, use their methods against them. And then once we get it taken care of, we're going to get rid of election season, and we're going to get rid of these mail-in ballots that don't belong and everything else. So we just got to get across the finish line first. Having said that, if we get bad news, people, what are y'all going to do?
We keep fighting.
Yeah, but
I'm going to buy lead as a precious metal.
So I'm going to give a shout out to Nicole Reffitt. She said this at the 2-year anniversary. She said, if it goes the wrong direction, people get ready to stage the largest sit-in, peaceful sit-in in human history. You think you saw a lot of people on January 6th go to Washington, D.C.? You will not be able to you will not be able to figure out how to handle all those people that are going to be coming into Washington, D.C., but not only Washington, D.C., into your own local capital, your state capital, your local government, your office of elections, everywhere. People will need to stand up and show up and get out there, because we cannot stand for it, and we need that to be looked into if this happens again.
You know, you're absolutely right. A sit-in, because, you know, if you're sitting on the ground, you can't pick up a bike rack as a weapon. But in reality, it's going to be a combination of things. It's going to be sit-ins because it'll be very visible. But the people do have more than they know, even beyond a vote. And I've been living this for the past several years. You got to show up at your local action. General Flynn says it all the time, local action, national impact. A lot of people don't seem to understand that if you show up at like a Board of Supervisors meeting every month, actually several times a month when things are active, and you show up at all of the meetings, eventually you're going to start meeting people. You're going to meet people of like mind. You're going to start meeting the members of the board that you're attending. You're going to build relationships, and if you don't think that you can have an impact with those, build the relationships. If you don't, somebody else will. So go do it.
I'd like to add something else too to what Tom was saying about the early voting. I agree with everything he said, but there's one more aspect to consider too. As we've learned, the voters who do not vote regularly, the reluctant voters, are where you can really get the winning margin. And the Democrats have been way ahead of us on that. Well, once you vote, you come off that roll. So that means that Republicans are not having to expend resources to contact you about voting. All right, it reduces their workload. It lets them use those funds for other ways to win the election. So the voting early, it can't be understated. Not only does it bank your vote, but it keeps the Republicans from having to work so hard to get these low propensity voters, because that's going to be the key to this election to a large degree. And the Democrats have been excellent at that for years. They get people to vote who could just care less, but they're the one that showed up to the door with the ballot, and that's why they got the vote. Now, we need to do the same thing. The only difference I would say is, unlike many of the Democrat vote operatives, you do not change ballots. You do not pressure people how to vote. You just make sure they have the means. Now, there's no way we can stop the Democrats from cheating, but don't get it in your mind that somehow you're doing something wrong by encouraging others to vote. As long as you don't use any type of coercion you're not doing a darn thing wrong. And like I say, again, when you vote early, that means less work for the people trying to help you win the election. So unless you have a good reason you can't be there, do it. And one last thing, don't forget, I always voted in person until the last election. And the reason is I learned a lesson the previous election. I, of course, waited till the day to vote, the day of the election to vote. They didn't have all this early voting back then. But I had a really serious accident. And I was on a walker. I couldn't go more than 100 feet. And here it was the election day coming up. Well, I drove myself up to the voting place, and unfortunately, the part of the building I voted in was all the way at the back, about 200 yards. It took me a half hour to get there. And I voted. I managed to get back to my car, and I had to lay in the back seat for a half hour to get enough strength to drive home. So I blame myself for that, because back then I was a staunch day of the election voter. But the same thing that happened to me could happen to you, or you could have a work emergency, you could have a family emergency. So please, what Tom said is right. Get your vote in there, and then if something comes up unexpected, you don't have to worry about it.
While we're on that, the other thing is to vote early, you go into the registrar's office typically. I mean, you're right there with the lead person or staff that are looking over things. You don't have to worry about whether or not somebody's, tampering with your vote or what. Go ahead.
Early voting starts September 20th.
September 20th in Virginia for early voting. Thanks, Cheryl.
Yeah, you insert your own ballot. I mean, it's, to me, one thing I noticed, I was in and out in like 3 minutes when I voted at the registrar's office, as opposed to having to wait in a line and whatever. So anyway, sometimes some of the changes the Democrats make can be used to our advantage too. So I would just say be innovative, and as like Marie said, get involved locally. Almost all these people in high political office started out in local offices, almost every one of them. So, there's a lot to be said for that.
I think somebody calls for the anthem.
Well, I think we had a couple try, but it's,
I get the impression that the authorities are clamping down harder and harder on these people communicating.
Yeah, there's some of that, but I mean, we track, we kind of laugh as we're watching the balance. The last meeting we were watching, last call, we started out with $3.82 and then down to $3.71. I forget why, because I think James dropped off, so we had 11 minutes there or something. And then down to 201 and down. We were sitting at 31 cents on our account, and my fault. I should have gone and figured out how to log in and do what I just did here anyway. I didn't have passwords and all that. It was quite actually easy to do once I found the number to call.
why don't you just have your staff handle it?
My staff was not working on it. They should have been working on it. So the staff needs to get busy.
Once we locate them.
Yeah, when we find them again, right. But so again, James Grant was the first caller, and then John Copeland. And no doubt what they did is James probably went off and called the other vigil and so on. So I do know that the DC vigil, maybe it was last week or the prior week, I don't remember, but they had a heck of a hard time they getting anybody to call out, and because certain numbers were blocked is what it was. But I think they got around that. And the other thing I want to say to folks out there listening, you know, this is not hard to do. Obviously, you can see how much effort we put into it, right? But it's not that hard. Prism is the live streaming program that I use. It's very simple to log in and set that up, Prism. So you need somebody with a phone to do that. You need somebody with a phone to accept the calls, and we'll figure out how to get your numbers to the J6ers. But it's quite easy to do, and I know Sherry was talking about, from the DC Vigil, talking about trying to set one up near a BOP facility in Ohio where there's several J6ers. There's a vigil that occurs in Los Angeles where some of the folks have been out there. Go to forashley.com and you can see all of the vigils that are happening around the country. I think tomorrow is the 24th, and they're going to have one in Lewisburg. The folks that do the Lewisburg one are going to do one tomorrow afternoon. So they're happening all over. They're easy to do. How about the flag waves? Have you seen any of those? The flag waves happening all over the country. Those are a great way to get out there and get with people, like-minded people, and show your support. So that's the kind of thing I think we need to do, everyone, and share these things, especially, and get people to think.
Kind of on the same thing. It's better to show your support outdoors than indoors. You see more people that way.
Well, unless you see a man on a roof.
Well, yeah, we don't want to see a man on a roof or a boy on a roof, however that works out. But on the other topic of voting, I know a lot of people are hesitant to vote early because, especially us Republicans, we like to say, "I'm vote on election day, darn it." Well, that's how the other side has been beating us for the last several decades. And so I'm going to share a link with everybody about how to break that cycle. It's a presentation. Tom mentioned Liz Dickinson created this, and she works for the American Majority. And y'all need to try and absorb this so that you can maybe break that grip you have on a tradition we're getting beat with.
That's great. Thanks for putting that out. Thanks for putting that out there, for sure. All right. Well, we're just kind of biding our time, but biding our time. I always love saying that.
Riding with Biden.
But riding with Biden, biding our time. Yeah. So I guess
I'm sorry, that's twisted. Just the look at
I didn't really watch the thing. I mean, I was just turned off by the DNC convention when I see, the abortion clinic and free vasectomies outside. I mean, it's like, and a lot of people are making fun of that, saying like, have at it, folks. Go ahead and end your bloodline. That's fine with us. So, I don't know, just my gosh, crazy.
There is kind of a conflict in that. I just wonder how it is that people can be so in favor of abortion and so against the death penalty. How does that work? It just seems kind of backwards to me. But that seems to be the way it works. And since it doesn't make sense that you would end life before it really gets off the ground instead of perpetuating life that probably really needs to go away.
Careful.
For decades I've said that what really made birth control popular a ways back was the thought that you might birth a liberal child, a far-left child, and just that prospect was enough. I remember a couple of months ago, I forget who it was, some prominent liberal activist, I guess got mad at the males of the race and urged a boycott by liberal women that until the men straightened up, they couldn't have sex. And I entitled my editorial, "Thank You, Jesus," and went on to state that no rational male would want to come within 30 feet of one of these far-left creatures. And I don't think any rational woman would want to get too close to any of these far-left soy boy beta males. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't have a problem with depopulation as long as the right people are depopulated. So you guys can extrapolate from that what you want.
Well, it's a good discussion to have, because if you look at it, now those of us on our team, we're not trying to destroy anything from within or without, even though our friend Stalin, all those years ago, said, "Don't worry about the Americans, they'll destroy themselves from within." I think he knew where the Democrat Party was headed.
Reagan said the same thing.
And yeah, and it's all been predicted. because the handwriting's on the wall. If you can't read, you can't think, you're gonna die. It's just that way.
What's the old saying? Forewarned is forearmed. We know what they're going to do. We know how much they're going to cheat.
Yeah.
And that the best way to stop people from cheating is to make it painful to do so. I learned that in high school football. I had a guy in a game that kept grabbing my jersey, and the referee just was completely ignoring it. So I started grabbing me up around my shoulders, which leaves his ribs completely exposed. So the next time he held me, I delivered a right hook right into his rib cage. And of course, luckily, the ref never watched us anyway. About the third time I did it, he decided to stop holding me. I'm not sure exactly why. And I would just say the same with liberals. If you make it too painful, they'll stop doing it.
So true.
So don't ever grab me by the shoulders as it gets too long.
I won't do that.
Yeah, I won't do that either.
Yeah, I'm not into the square dance for that.
And I'm definitely a square. Well, unfortunately, I think it's kind of hard for those guys because they, well, of course, you always have mechanical stuff come up, even the major networks do. But I don't think the authorities probably make it very easy for them to communicate. And I've noticed more and more that they seem to be trying to clamp down. Now, maybe not as bad with some people as myself, but I know a lot of people I used to communicate with regularly. I have trouble communicating with at all now. So,
Is that coincident with their moving on to BOP?
well, I think that's the biggest single factor. Is, you know, it's as you know, it's a whole new ball game once they get in the big house.
Yeah, it is. The rules are not obvious. This is what I'm gathering from the information that goes through our home. The rules are not obvious. They're enforced rigidly. And for example, somebody in one BOP facility received mail that had drug contamination on the letters, and so now several individuals, not even related, if not the entire facility, is going to be on lockdown until they. Not quite. There's analogs in the DOJ part, in the jail system, but when you get into the prisons, they have zero tolerance, and they will take actions on the bureaucracy's side that are necessarily going to have collateral damage and cause frustration in the prisoner's side, where we might think that it would be avoidable. And it is for the most part because, well, anyways.
Well, I think one thing that might come of this good, whoever it was that discovered that cocaine, maybe we could task him to check into the cocaine found in the White House. It sounds like a lot of that was destroyed. In fact, it comes out now that they think they actually did identify who did it, but the report identifying him went missing somehow, him or her. But I think it may just be a certain him.
Just like the footage from the camera that disappeared that would have otherwise caught it? Yeah.
Yeah. Just like the J6 transcripts from the select committee.
Oh, yeah. You know, there's a lot more corruption coming out about the J6 event, almost weekly, if not daily anymore. There's that whole story is falling apart. So maybe we all need to read the book that Cheryl was talking about earlier.
Well, one thing that you and Cheryl looked into, and I haven't got a chance to get back up with it, but regarding Chris Quagland and some of the antics of his judge, I haven't seen all of the direct evidence, but it sounds like just the basic transcript shows some very improper things going on, and I'm putting that charitably. But I never thought I'd live to see judges so actively involved.
Biased.
And dressing down people and trying to make them grovel. It's just, it's a sad day in America. And I think that, you know, a perfect example is Amy Coney Barrett. Everybody thought she was relatively, I guess you would say, not traditionalist, I forget the word, but literally interpreted constitutionalist, thank you. But after her family got threatened for a while and they got harassed and all, you could notice her voting habits change. And the thing is, the left is allowed to openly intimidate judges, including Supreme Court judges. All the mayhem and threats and riots they allowed to happen outside of Judge Kavanaugh's residence. If that had happened to a left-leaning judge, there'd be a lot of people in jail right now, and you can just bet the ranch on that
Oh,
one.
absolutely. Two-tiered system. More than 2 tiers.
Yeah, I remember, I've likened it, it's not, when I think of 2 tiers, I think of adjacencies. I think of rungs on a ladder, 1 tier to the next kind of thing. But this is not, this is completely different, opposite ends of the spectrum is what we're seeing.
And it looks like an inverted root system for a tree, turned upside down. You got the trunk, and then you got all these other exceptions in the roots. It's just kind of crazy.
Tom, before I forget, I have those 2 packages that came back. I brought them, I just forgot to bring them inside.
Okay.
If you want those.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. Cheryl, you're going to have to sing the national anthem tonight if they don't call back, so you might just want to get your voice ready to go, because you'll do a solo if that's okay.
Well, if you sound how I sound, right?
Everybody had their earplugs?
Have you seen anything from her of her recent? This is something that I want to explain to you. I can send you the most current, but
Yeah, I scanned her
Substacks?
Yeah.
Have you seen it? So she's put out a call to action for putting your comments online or in the. So if you're familiar with that one, then fine. But I thought it'd be worthy of getting it in the paper because I think the time frame. I
Yeah.
have to look at that and see, but.
Well, I did look at it and I skimmed it, but I haven't looked at it in depth, so it's under consideration right now as we speak. I'll get my crack staff to dig into it.
Right, your staff, talk to my staff.
Yeah, once they sober up.
Right. All right. Well, you want to put some money on this? See if we're going to get a call?
I'm thinking no, because they probably think that you just don't have the funds.
No, I got words to them, that's all.
Oh.
That's all good.
Well, then I don't know.
They've got it.
They'll try.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good at calling for the anthem at least.
Do they sing their national anthem every single night? Here we go. Here we go, our boys.
Hello, this is a prepaid debit call from
Dominic Fox.
Aha, he made it.
Used his own money.
an inmate at the Washington D.C. Central Detention Facility. To accept this call, press 0. To refuse, this call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tellink. Good evening, Northern Neck Patriots.
Hey, Dominic.
Hey, Dominic, we have a full crew here.
Hey, awesome. I want to say hello, America. Hi, Mom. Hello to the women of Warsaw. And again, hello, Northern Neck Patriots. Thank you guys for having me tonight. Who's all there tonight?
Okay, we have John Haynes, Tom, Cheryl, Maurice, and Carol.
Awesome. Well, first I want to say thank you. I'm not sure exactly who it was. Edition of the Northern Neck Sentinel, and I've gotten very smart. So I keep 2 articles in my cell because as soon as I put the other 2 articles out, they disappear into the hands of the men here in the pod. And they actually had somebody that said, "What is this? Where is it coming from?" And I said, "It's those great people that you call every Friday night." And since you told me that John's there, I got to say, John, that article that you wrote in the August edition about, and I'm going to to butcher his name, but the Virginia Attorney General, is it Mayorkas? Mayorkas? How do you say it?
Mayorkas.
Mayorkas, about his investigation into Act Blue was incredible. I really enjoyed it because not only did I see James O'Keefe's investigation, one of the first I think that he did as a part of the O'Keefe Media Group, OMG, which was awesome. But as somebody, they really talked about how they were using those financial, the money mules from Washington State to impact coming from Washington State to the Reverend Raphael Warnock, or Warlock as we call them, and I was actually intimately involved in that election. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I was, a major Herschel Walker guy. Initially, I was supporting a different candidate by the name of Josh Clark. I think Herschel, he's a legend in Georgia, but it was kind of easy to forecast some of the critiques they were going to use against him. Ultimately, he would have been a significantly better candidate than the Warlock. But, seeing that article, I don't know if I missed it in O'Keefe's investigation, but, just knowing where all that money was coming from, and it makes so much sense because they dominated the airwaves and everything was Warnock. And to be able to do that against a guy like Herschel Walker in the state of Georgia was just insane. But so I want to give a shout out to you for writing an article on such an important topic. We know that the Democrats, the CCP, all their different, financial tentacles are working in cahoots. But not only did James O'Keefe in that investigation, I actually read his book, American Muckraker, incredible. But he really showed the way that, kind of like I talked about the last time when we spoke, how easy it is to get involved. And that was just a super simple way. I don't remember exactly how they talked about finding the list of the donors. But when you just get out and you ask these people, hey, did you actually donate money to Act Blue? And saying you've made, 50 contributions of $25 and it says here that you're unemployed. It was fascinating to watch that and then to actually see it broken down in front of my eyes, the way that money is being misappropriated and used to influence politics. Again, just shout out to you for that article. It was something that I'm like, oh my gosh. I ran into this myself. So I hope, it looked like there was Act Blue was compelled to respond by August 12th. I don't know if they have or not, but shout out to your Attorney General. It sounds like some great things are happening in Virginia. And let's continue to manifest that Trump victory in Virginia. I know he can do it. I know Virginia, I know Warsaw, I know Northern Neck. It's Trump country, and honestly, guys, I think the entire country is. But you got a great governor, you got a great Attorney General. And I also wanted to say I really enjoyed the July article from Robert Moores talking about Bastille Day, and he brought up some great points. I often wonder, how is January 6th going to be remembered, 20, 30, 50, 150 years from now? Because, I'm sure my mom's listening right now, and she'll tell you, when the FBI walked out of my house, or walked out of my condo, in mid-February of 2021, I was absolutely broken. Every rib on the left side was broken. My lung was still collapsed. Well, I think my lung was fixed at that time. I couldn't walk, could barely move, and honestly, I was crying. I said, Mom, my mom's a nurse. That's why she'd flown in from Missouri to help take care of me. I said, Mom, I promise you, the things that you're seeing on the news and the way that this day is being talked about will not be forever. It's going to be viewed differently. When the truth comes out, I promise you, they're not going to call me the things that they're calling me today. And because of people like you and the Northern Neck Sentinel, because of the Northern Neck Patriots, because of patriots like Robert Morris and the other men, women, and the families that are in here, we're all doing our part. And I'm really excited to see what we're able to do as far as not changing the narrative, but just telling the truth about that day. And, the Lord hasn't blessed me with children or a wife yet, but I know eventually He will. I got to get out of here first. But, when that happens, I look forward to telling them the truth about what happened and to seeing, how our country in the future accurately reflects on that day. And I don't, it's weird to even really be a part of this situation. But I do know, like I said to my mom that day, I promise you the future will reflect differently on this day. Because you guys remember what it was like in those days and weeks immediately after. It was absolutely insane.
Right.
And lives have been lost because of the things that they were saying,
right.
Inaccurate, hurtful, horrible things. I'm gonna pause here real quick, guys. Just like the last couple of weeks, I'm gonna be taking us through the anthem. So get ready, and remember at the end, we do encourage everybody to continue fighting. So give me one second.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so bright in the air, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red flare, the monsters singing air, came through the night, and the flag was still there. Oh, sing us that star-spangled banner, for the land of the free and the home of the brave. USA! 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 Fight, fight, fight! Fight, fight, fight! Fight, fight, fight!
All right. Nice job too, Dominic. Nice job leading that. You sound great.
You guys are awesome.
Well, thank you very much. And I don't know, guys. Apparently last night at the DNC, regrettably, we did, commit ourselves to watching just to see what spin and craziness is going on. They had this group of women. Apparently, they used to be called the Dixie Chicks. They're going by some other name now. They did the anthem last night, and we took a quick poll in here of the men and the officers in here. They all agreed, as I'm sure you guys would. Our version is significantly better.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
Hands down, fellas.
Awesome.
Dominic, this is John Hayes. I just wanted to say something real quick.
Hey, John.
I got some pictures from your mom, and I did get your last submission in writing. Unfortunately, it was too late. It was too late for me to use, but I did receive that, and I appreciate it. And also regarding Robert Morse, when I walked in earlier tonight, the Johnsons handed me a letter from him thanking me. I haven't even had a chance to read it yet. So anyway, I just wanted to get that information and just tell you to hang in there, buddy.
Absolutely, guys. No, we're thank you for that, and just know that we're doing okay here. Our numbers are a little bit smaller right now, but like Robert said in his letter, you guys keep us going. You guys are a major patriotic part of what we're doing in here. Every one of us has a role, whether we're incarcerated, whether we're on the outside, just telling the stories. What you guys are doing is incredible. And I also wanted to say, I definitely in the July article, edition, I'm not sure if it was in the August edition, but I saw a great ad for the Constitution Alive classes that Rick Green, his foundation is putting out. That's actually a program that I was a part of in Savannah, Georgia, and so I was so excited to see that. And I would encourage anybody out there that's listening, get involved in those Constitution Alive classes. Not only is it a great way to connect with like-minded patriots and conservative Americans in your community, but I don't care how educated you are on, the political process, our incredible republic, you will learn something every week, or however often they do the classes there. That's something, I actually started it before all this happened, and I moved down to Florida. Things got a little hairy, but I've got, two of my great friends, Ben Adams and Pete Robine, are actually, they lead the classes there in Savannah. It's that they do it at 2 different churches. And that was one of the ways that, you know, I really built community, or found my community, found my tribe in Savannah. So I would encourage everybody, whether you think you know the Constitution word for word, or you know you don't even know the First Amendment, I promise you, you will get something out of it. And I wanted to give you guys credit for running that ad. You guys have, it sounds like, you know, people are looking for help putting up a pro-life billboard, and not to, you know, continue plugging the Northern Next Sentinel, but you guys have a great viewership, you have a great leadership, and everybody out there, you know, continue, you know, advertise in these local newspapers, because this is how community is built. And I just wanted to, you know, tip my metaphorical hat to you guys, because that Constitution Alive class is incredible, and it did so much for me. So aside from that, you know, I was excited to see today that endorsement from RFK Jr. You know, whether you like him, support all the positions, or some of them or not, you know, I think that is a big endorsement. And I think, you know, there are certainly things on his platform that I do give some credence to. And tonight we were watching at President Trump's rally in Arizona. It looks like he may have a position in the FDA or something in that environment. And just to end it tonight, you know, I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but the government, particularly the Department of Justice and the U.S. attorneys that are tasked with these January 6 cases, are not the stand-up, honest, truth-telling individuals that we would hope they would be. And I'm sure, you know, you guys have no experience in that. But just to give you a little update on where my situation is, I had my trial 2.5 months ago, eventually on my half birthday on June 17th. It was a stipulated trial, one that was supposed to be, you know, expected to have a resolution that day. Thankfully, you know, I'm not going to say thankfully, but as somebody with that 1512 obstruction charge, it's actually my largest charge, now 2.5 months out, I still don't have a verdict. On Monday, the government actually requested 6 additional weeks, pushing me out until the end of September, for them to figure out what they want to do with our case. And they blame a voluminous amount of Facebook messages and that they've had for years now, and the fact that the prosecutor who was initially assigned to my case moved back to Boston. Now, the district court here in D.C., in a job like that, it's not like Wendy's. You don't just decide to up and leave and transfer to Taco Bell. You know, they're playing games. They're saying they need all this extra time because they didn't know, they had no idea what was going to happen with Fisher. They had, you know, they never could have anticipated, you know, these, according to their word, this new elements of the statute.
You have 1 minute remaining.
No, you keep up with the news. You know the Fisher decision didn't add new elements of the statute. It cut the fat off and left them with the very plain language that said if evidence was not interfered with, if witnesses were not intimidated, and there was no manipulation of physical ballots or evidence, then the charge doesn't apply. To me, the charge should not apply. I'm going to implore the government to do the right thing, stop holding myself, James Grant, Greg Purdy, Robert Turner, and other men and women in limbo waiting on a decision when you know the right thing to do is to dismiss the 1512. Because otherwise I'm going to be here well past my guidelines. Guys, my name's Dominic Box. I'm going to call you back next week, number 387-287, GibSonGo.com/freedomj6. Mom, I love you. I can't wait to see you in a few weeks. Thank you to the Northern Next Patriots. I'm on Instagram at NotDomBox. X, formerly known as Twitter, Dom Free Press, Rumble, Chatham Free Press, CHATHAM, Free Press, Northern Next Patriots. Thank you guys. God bless you. God bless America. And fight, fight, fight.
Thank you for using Global Kelly.
Dominic, way to go.
He's a sportscaster.
Way to go.
He's a character, isn't he?
All right. Well, listen. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Sorry for the delay there, but we'll be ready for them next week, and we'll come loaded for bear. Thank you again. Share it, and you all have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks for bringing that letter.
Be safe. Thank you. God bless.
Yeah. We off?
It's 3-2.